Given that, this new piece of legislation, and what's, transpired in the past and everything else, can you just talk a little bit about how, the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, really sort of what the implications are for these people? Because, what we've sort of come to learn now is that the government, unfortunately, really, really tried to bury the impact of this contamination for decades. And what we're learning now is that the water was in fact so polluted that, by some measures, it was 250 to 3,400 times the established safety standards set by the government. But when we have the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, that actually was just signed into law by President Biden. I guess really, what does that act do for these people, for this, huge amount of people who've been impacted over the past, 40 years? Because, in the past, and again, we're not to sort of get too much off tangent, but in the past, what you've got your, if you've been harmed, whether by a defective drug, medical device, contaminated water, you basically have a strict time frame to bring a case. Now, can you just talk a little bit about how this Camp Lejeune Justice Act differs from your traditional mass tort, if you would?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one interesting, back to my Aaron Brockovich scenario, the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, what's really unique about it is that the government, in essence, has admitted that they were negligent for this 40-year period, and they knowingly contaminated the water supply, the air supply, and hurt this group of people, the number of which is estimated to be anywhere from 750,000 to about 1 million people, okay, over this time span. Now, those people that were previously trying to file claims, there were some remedies that they could seek through the VA, Veterans Administration. There were certain disability benefits, a couple of thousand a month. There were certain pockets of money set aside in the past, over the last about 5-10 years under the Obama administration, to get some compensation for people that can prove that they were sickened, families are sickened by this water. The Camp Lejeune Justice Act is unique because it lays out specific criteria and sets aside a pot of money by the U.S. government, numbered somewhere in the billions. We don't even know exactly how much is in the set-aside number, but right now it's not capped. Okay, and it applies to all individuals, anybody exposed to contaminated water for at least 30 days, and that's not consecutively. They had to arrive August 1st, leave August 30th. That is a 30-day aggregate period for anybody that was at the camp for a week, then a week a year later, and then a week maybe a year after that, etc. So as long as you're there for 30 days, and it covers exposure between August 1st, 1953 and December 31st, 1987. So if you fall into this category, and we'll go through the kind of illnesses and diseases and cancers and conditions that qualify, then you may file a claim with an attorney. All right. And under this act, the government cannot assert any immunity. And that's what's really, really critical here. So unlike what I talked about earlier, the government cannot say, well, you can't sue us because we're the government. They will admit that we were at fault. We will put a pot of money aside. We will evaluate your case. And if you meet the criteria and if your lawyers assert and prove up the damages, then we will award you a lump sum of compensation. It's not going to be a couple of thousand a month for a disability benefit. You can still continue to have that per the VA and other acts in the past relating to contamination and sickness at this campsite. But this is a lump sum separate settlement as compensation. So the government cannot deny. The government has no immunity, okay? And there's a couple other provisions, but that's mostly the important part. So there's about a 2-year window starting from about a week ago, right, from early August 2022 until 2024, that anybody within this category, and we'll go through the illnesses in a little bit, file a claim. All right, all cases need to be brought and filed in the Eastern District of North Carolina. And John, you and I can go into that in a little bit, but that means you need an attorney that's licensed to practice in federal court and can file these lawsuits in the Eastern District of North Carolina. And then we'll see. It's unique in the sense that there's no cap, there's no threat of bankruptcy. Okay, the government's going to set aside money. A corporation that poisons waters can say we don't have the funds to pay 1 million people who we've sickened. All right, that is not going to apply to the United States government, and that's what really makes this a unique act.